Jack Morris. Jack is running for the Indiana State Senate District 15 on the Democratic ticket. Jack, we appreciate your time today.
Glad to do it.
Let's talk a little bit about what your background is.
I was raised here in Fort Wayne. I really was born in LaPorte, but my family moved here before I was 3, and I've lived here ever since. Grew up on the southeast side of Fort Wayne, the southeast portion of the district I'm running for. My dad had a gas station at Anthony and McKinney. He started out on the southwest corner with Shell, and then moved over to the northeast corner with Marathon. He stayed on that corner. I think he was there for 25 years or so when Marathon forced him out by turning his station into a Speedway convenience store. And they did that when he was in his 50s, so I got to see, unfortunately, the pain of a person in their 50s being cut, and watching my dad, kind of the indignity of being employed, unemployed in the latter stages of his life after being a good, hardworking man all of his life. I graduated from Southside High School in 1973. At Southside, I was involved in sports, was also on the speech team. I was supposed to be in the senior play, but I got my knee wiped out the night before, which really irritated the drama guy because he didn't know I was injured, and he had never allowed athletes in it. So he was apparently using some tough words on how he was never going to let an athlete be in there again. And then he did feel badly about that when he realized I was in the hospital. I started off school down at the University of Evansville College, went on a pre-theology major. But one of my early religion professors there kind of got me a little bit off kilter. His teaching led me to question a lot of what I was talking about, what I was thinking. So I quit after 2 quarters, and then I went into construction work. I did some brick tending, and I experienced the problems of getting the fly-by-night workers because we didn't have the best of equipment, and I was jumping from scaffolding to try to wash down the brick one night, and the board broke, and I went 2 stories down and landed on my bad knee. Fortunately, all I did was tear some adhesions, but it put me back into another cast. After that, I then went to a tryout of the Philadelphia Phillies because I played baseball, and the tryout went fairly well, but they knew I'd had a knee operated on. So one of their scouts arranged to talk to a junior college in Tennessee to get me a scholarship. And so Cumberland Junior College in Lebanon, Tennessee, their coach called me and offered me a scholarship down there. And so that's what got me back in college. It had nothing to do with education at that point, and I had no idea where my life was going, but I was going to have a chance to play ball. And so I got down there, and an exciting thing happened. First off, the school was a very small school, and a lot of the teachers there were teachers that had been retired but loved to teach, and so they came back and were teaching the subjects that they loved. And so I could tell right away that the school was good in that regard. It just felt different to me. And then this old lady, history teacher, everybody called her boring, and she was boring. She pretty much read the book to you in her way, and I kind of picked up on that fairly quickly, and so she would ask a question. I knew what paragraph she was on, so I'd raise my hand, I could answer it. And then I'd skim ahead, and then people thought I was kind of the brown noser, but I thought, how come nobody else is picking this up? But in the process of that, I got to watch that. She just loved what she was teaching. History, she just loved the study of history, and I got to talk to her more over the time period, and she just infected me with the love of information. She made it, I'd say she turned my life around at that point. She got me directed and realizing that an education was the way for me to move forward. And by that time, I knew I wasn't going anywhere with baseball, so it was good timing for me. I ultimately then went on to be president of the History Club. I was also president of the Speech Club, member of the President's Roundtable. I graduated down there with honors. I didn't get to graduate with an honors tassel because it cost $35, and I was a married kid and I couldn't afford the $35 to be part of that honors group. I can't remember what they're called, but it was supposed to be something distinguished, and my teacher couldn't believe I didn't want to pay. But I said, hey, I don't have $35. We were living in a 1-bedroom apartment that cost $90 a month. when we moved in, we mopped down the walls, and you put the mop up and down the wall, and it would come back black with just one pass. So we found needles in the carpeting, and so it was the world I could afford at that time, and $35 was just way too much money. As I got to the end of my time down at Cumberland, I then decided a good place for me to go after that was Ball State. State school, I could afford it better. My dad was a disabled veteran, so we got some tuition relief on that, and so I finished my degree at Ball State. I rammed that through. I was taking 20 hours a quarter some of the times, and because we had a child at home, and my wife would work during the day, so I would try to get my classes all in the evening, and then I took it straight year round. And so I finished up, made up the time that I had skipped out at Evansville when I dropped out, and still was able to graduate then within 4 years of getting into college. And because I was so excited about education, I got straight A's during my time at Ball State, even when I'm taking 20 hours a quarter. They had to specially permit you to take that many hours in one quarter, but they gave me the chance, and then they let me keep doing it after I was getting straight A's. At the end of that time period, someone had asked me, Jack, what are you going to become? And at that point, I still didn't know. When I started Ball State, I wasn't sure, but some friends said, hey, you're smart, why don't you become a lawyer? And I thought, okay, I'll become a lawyer. So for me, it wasn't a lifelong ambition. There was not any driving force for me to do that. In fact, I expected at Ball State that I was going to go on teaching because I got my teaching degree. I did my student teaching at Muncie Central, and I was fully expecting that I would teach, but then two things happened towards the end of that time period. I was offered a graduate assistantship in their world history and American history departments, and so that was going to help me get a master's and pay me while I was doing it. So I accepted that, but then I got accepted to law school, and so I had to tell Ball State that I was going to decline, and I went to Indianapolis School of Law in Indianapolis. I entered there in 76. Yeah, 77. Well, it's hard to remember. 76. I don't remember. Right away after I graduated from Ball State, I'll get you a copy of my resume if you want that has a lot of that on there, and began law school. I again pushed my way through law school quickly because having a kid, I wanted to get out and make some money. The first semester at IU, I didn't work, but after that, every semester I did. I worked one or two jobs. One of my jobs was just a basic law school job of being a clerk. And what that means is we just run the filing to the courthouse and back, and work on putting files away in the office, just miscellaneous stuff. Hey, you got enough of that? No.
Yeah. No, you're fine.
Okay. And then I also had a job where I cared for a paraplegic attorney. This was kind of my secondary job where I would go and help him get up in the morning, make sure he gets in the shower, bathe him. And when I say paraplegic, I meant quadriplegic, and even cleaning out his bed sores and things like that, and caring for them, help him get breakfast, and then I would drive him to work, get him into work, then I would go to school, and I would come back at noontime, get him a lunch and empty his bag and care for him, and then I would take him home in the evening. That was just some supplemental money, but I think it gave me a lot of understanding of disabilities and the struggles that people have. And as I've been in my practice of law, that has come in handy. It helped me to understand those plights when people have come to me with conditions or concerns about that. So it gave me an insight that I'm really glad I had. I ultimately graduated from law school in 2.5 years. During that time period, I was a moot court finalist. Moot court is our oral argument competition that basically an entire class starts out doing these oral arguments, but then it gets into a competition, and you start moving up the ladder. You and your teammate go all the way up to the final four, and then the finals are done in our moot courtroom with some justices from the Court of Appeals and other prominent lawyers doing the court questioning. And so that was a good honor, and it was an exciting process. I graduated then in January of 1980, so I graduated in 2.5 years, even though it's normally a 3-year program. In fact, I took my bar exam this summer after my 2nd year, which I don't think they allow you to do anymore. But so I passed. I got my results by September of my 3rd year. Knew I was going to be admitted if I could make sure I passed all the courses I was taking. I did that, so I was admitted. I think it's dated January 15th of 1980. I started out briefly down at Franklin, Indiana. I interviewed for a firm that represented injured people and fought for the rights of the disadvantaged, and I liked the fit of that, and so I accepted it. But when I accepted that position, there were 2 partners and there were 5 associates. The day I showed up for starting work, I had learned that the associates had all left and they were forming their own firm. And so I was the only associate, and I immediately got dumped 50 files on my desk that I was solely responsible for. And the senior partners were so busy, they didn't have time to supervise me. And so I tried a contested custody case about the 2nd or 3rd week that I was out of law school, with nobody supervising me and nobody watching over me. And that carried forward for about 7 months. And I finally said, I can't do this. I'm not being mentored. I don't know if I'm doing a good job or a bad job. And I thought, well, if I'm going to have to work in this kind of an environment where I'm not being mentored, I might as well at least go back home where I could build up a client base also. So that caused me to return to Fort Wayne. And so in August of 1980, I opened up a solo office here in Fort Wayne and stayed solo for 1 year. And then I joined the firm that pretty much is the firm I've been in ever since. The only difference being one of the senior partners was split off and he went his way. But other than that, my Benson, Pentello, Morris, James, and Logan, the group of us have been together ever since then. We added Logan, we added Logan on. Benson, Pentello, Morris, and James have been together. We added Logan on. Otherwise, we've been the same. I've had the same paralegal for 30 years, although I've had some others in addition to her. And then one of my second ones has been with me for at least 20 years. So a lot of stability, and it's been great. I've devoted my practice to representing people who've been harmed by someone due to no fault of their own in a variety of ways and who need my assistance. And so it's a rewarding practice. I enjoy it.